And we are live on Facebook. Hey, it worked this week. Yay, everybody. So I am so excited, guys, to see you virtually and not in person, right? I hope all of you are hanging out in your PJs, got your slippers on. I'm dressed because I actually got back from going to the chiropractor today, which was very empty. Was kind of nice. I was not worried about catching anything because they have plenty of time between patients to clean the tables. So I was not worried at all, and I feel so much better now. So keep your regular appointments, guys. That's what I can tell you. The doctors really are, especially your chiropractors and other people. I know we have a lot of clients who are chiropractors, dentists, other things. Keep your regular appointments. Those are okay. They have cleaning products. They don't have as many patients right now, so it's actually a really great time for you to keep those appointments. So keep up some normal stuff going on for you. But we decided to deviate from normal today. We are going to go with a coaching crasher again. And I love it when we do this. I'm super excited about it because it gives me a chance to not have to teach you stuff that I only maybe know secondhand. And this, I think, although I sat through Kim's talk a couple of times now, I haven't done any of it, executed any of it. So I've also got Marlene. And for those of you who haven't met Marlene, you should be at some point in the course of when we get back to events, because she's been coordinating all of our podcast publicity events. So she's on as well, and she's going to ask some questions because she's going to be the one to help me execute what we're going to do in terms of making Pinterest for our podcast boards and some other things that we're working on it as well. So I'm really excited to get such top level training from Kim Sutton. Now, I met Kim, it would have been October. I met her in person, although I kind of knew her through Scott Carson before that. But I met her in person at She Podcast, sat through her talk, and it was my favorite talk of She Podcast because it was so nitty gritty. It had great tips, great ideas, and it was a little out of the box thinking that it shifted my mind from what I had been thinking because, frankly, I've been using Pinterest a really long time. Almost since I started Pinterest, I had a Pinterest board. And I used to use it really successfully with my clients when I was doing design work. I would pin all these colors. I would pin design ideas. Sometimes I had private boards I used with my clients, and many times they were just all open and public and ideas that were going back and forth. And so over time, I have had this tremendous circulation. I get a lot of visitors to my Pinterest every single week. And I do keep it up because it's kind of my pastime. I pin a lot of really cool podcast cover art, and I share it with our team, our graphics team, for ideas. I also pin ideas for my best of list. So sometimes I write best of lists for magazine articles, and I'll go and I'll pin them. But I didn't really realize until I saw Kim's presentation that people were actually using it for more than what I was using it for, right? That people were using my pins as ideas for great shows to go listen to. And so I thought, I'm missing the boat by not really taking this more seriously from an organizational side, because I'm an influencer on podcasting, so I should take this more seriously. But each one of you is an influencer within your niche, and your episodes and the information that you have all needs to be pinned and moved around and done things with. But, I had this mindset Pinterest was, crafty moms. And I think Kim is going to dispel that just like for you, just like she did for me. So Kim Sutton, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I had to tell you, I was like you. I had Pinterest for as long as I have had my brand, but it had become do it from the bathtub, looking for home decor things. And then I started doing what I'm going to teach a little bit about today, and it started taking off, and then bam. Yeah. It was totally my bath time social media though. Yeah. So I'm going to introduce myself, but first, can I ask how many people who are here? I want to know who's on Pinterest, who is using it regularly, and who's using it regularly for your business. And I would love to know, maybe Marlene or Tracy, if you can let me know what type of reaction we're getting. But while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to keep on going because there's so much content today. You'll want to have a pen and paper ready.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we can see a few people on Zoom right now, and I'm getting on Facebook and checking that out. So I'll let you know as soon as we have a number.
That is fabulous. So One of the most common misconceptions is that Pinterest is for women looking for clothes, crafts, and recipes. And this is so wrong. Like, I will tell you that well, actually, it's one of my slides because I am not a crafter. I am not a cooker. I burn everything. That's actually on the next slide. And I said I'm not a crafter, I'm not a cooker. And I can't stand shopping for clothes. But who I am, I'm a mom of 5. This picture was chosen on purpose because no part of me or my business is purposeful. It's all purposeful. That was a brain fart. None of it is perfect is what I'm trying to say. Positive productivity is not about perfection. I'm the host of the Positive Productivity Podcast, which is working to help entrepreneurs get away from their businesses and back into bed, because I believe that self-care should be one of the most critical ingredients in our businesses. And I don't want to take too much time on me because there's a lot to teach you today. But as I already said, I am not a chef. I burn everything I cook, so my husband does the cooking. The types of crafts that get done in my house are my kids finding permanent markers and coloring their Barbie, which you can see here. This is after they watched The Greatest Showman and decided that it should be the bearded lady.
I agree. I think you're right on that one.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much when I saw it. Like, I knew this is going to go on one of those wedding slideshows. Let me just tell you.
Which you're crafty enough to do.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, maybe I am, or maybe I'm not the all-American yes super mom, but I mean, I swear, I won't swear today. I have food fights. I draw mustaches. I am the one that takes out the permanent marker and draws on my kids' faces when they irritate me, but we have to have a little bit of fun. So clearly I am not who everybody thinks should be on Pinterest. But
well, let me stop you right there, Kim. So we've gotten some words from what's everybody's going on. And basically everyone on so far has an account, and they don't really use it.
Okay.
And so we're all excited to hear what you have to say.
I love it. So Tracy, it's been almost 2 weeks since we were in Orlando.
Yep.
I still have not touched my account since then. I did see last second that I am now down to 1.2 million monthly viewers, but I have not touched my account in the last 2 weeks. And I had not
check mine.
And I had not touched my account really in the month before I took the screenshot, which was 2 weeks ago, and it was 1.3 million monthly viewers. But that is because, as I already said, I am looking for ways to get us away from our businesses and back into bed for sleep. Other activities are optional. So I have things on automation. And that is what I'm going to be showing you today. But there are a few critical steps that we need to start with. Before we get there, though, my intentions for you today are that I want you to understand the potential that Pinterest has for you. I want you to understand that you don't have to do all the work. I mean, Tom and Tracy are the founders here, but they have a whole team supporting them. So this does not need to be done by you. You can have an awesome team doing it. And I want you to know how and where to get started, because it does not need to be complicated. And Tracy, if you can hear the kids screaming in the background, I'm sure we're all going through some version of the same. So
no worries at all. We got that going on.
And feel free to take screenshots. And if you share them on social media and tag me, I love seeing how results are going up, but I'll give you a free gift if you tag me. So let's clear up some of the misconceptions. I'm just going to skip to number 2, because 40% of new signups for Pinterest are men, which is mind-blowing to me. And 40% of US dads are on Pinterest. Now, I don't want to generalize it just for dads, but my husband is even on Pinterest checking out how to do home improvement. Yes, he is looking for recipes, but he's a video game designer, so he's even going on there looking for resources for himself. The point number 3 here, though, I think is really awesome, because half of Pinterest users make over $50,000 a year. If you look at Twitter, if you look at Instagram, if you look at Facebook, you may not find that. And then 10% are over 125,000. So when you're looking at Pinterest demographics, there's a little bit of spending capacity, and they may definitely be interested in what you have to offer. Tracy, please interrupt me if at any point there's
No,
a question.
this is one of the slides, and this next one as well. Like, these two are really what really reminded me of the power of what I had already seen on Pinterest. And that is that there is a lot of transacting going on. There's buying happening. So if there's buying happening and buying pins going on, like, buyable pins, all of that, that means that there are people who will take action and maybe go listen to your show, right? That's
Absolutely. Yeah, and these were new numbers between when you and I met in October and a couple weeks ago, that last year 1.3 billion or 1.03 billion dollars in ad revenue from Pinterest. That's just huge. I've personally used Pinterest for my buying decisions. Like, I'll go there, I'll go to Google, but I'll also go to Pinterest because I trust it. I trust what's on Pinterest. And a lot of Pinterest users have a know, like, and trust factor. They've been growing their know, like, and trust factor with the brands that they're following on Pinterest. So they'll save pins to their own boards, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit, to go back to when they're ready to actually purchase. I mean, I have so many different things saved to boards for future purchases, and I'm just hoping that by the time I get myself together, that those products will still be available. I'm sure you're wondering, well, Kim spends, no time on Pinterest. How can I do it? So let's dive in a little bit. I have the E3 Pinterest success strategy. So you can see the far left is make it easy to find you. And I'm going to be going through each of these with more detail. The middle is eye appeal is buy appeal. That's step number 2. And then step number 3 is engage and interact. Before we dive into make it easy to find you, though, it's really important that you understand that Pinterest is not a social media platform. Pinterest is a search engine. So people go there and they search for stuff. They're not going there to correspond with their friends. They're not going there to like the most recent photo that pops up or to leave comments. They're going there to specifically find something. So you said, Tracy, that there's chiropractors or dentists, or you have a very diverse audience. It makes no difference to me what your niche market is. There is a group of people on Pinterest looking for you. Period.
I would agree with that, because I'm always shocked at the people who are following me.
Absolutely. I spoke with somebody yesterday who was at Podfest. He talks about his podcast, works with talks to leaders of the parent teacher organizations, PTOs. So his whole brand is about, fundraising and leadership in nonprofits and community organizations. I would love to go to Pinterest and see, what are the best fundraising techniques for this? I'm a Girl Scout troop leader. I go to Pinterest to find Girl Scout troop ideas. So just remember, it's not a social media platform. It is a search engine.
I definitely listen to that. That's what we love. We love search engines. What I just saw statistics, Kim, the other day that says 72% of people who listen to podcasts or look for new podcasts don't go to the search engine for the directory for iTunes or Spotify or wherever. That's not the first place they go to find new podcasts. They go to find new podcasts from other people that they trust.
Yep. I often go to Apple Podcasts and I look underneath the ones that I'm already listening to, like the recommended books on Amazon. You may also like this. I love that.
Well, and people are looking at further than that. They're saying that's not good enough because I don't trust iTunes the way that they search it. They're like, I trust my friends on Pinterest, or I trust my friends on social media. I'm going to ask them what they listen to. Yeah.
So with them keeping in mind, and I want to make sure to leave time for questions, but keeping in mind that this is a search engine, I want you to remember that you have to be visible. So, and Tracy and Tom and all of Podetize, I know that you know that it's more than just dropping your episode and that's it. this is evergreen content that can be shared forever and ever and ever, as is every single lead magnet that you create. If you have funnels, as is every blog article or video that you put up, even Facebook Lives or YouTube videos. This is all evergreen content. So the first step has to be in getting visible. But visibility equals traffic. And this is from last October. You can see here the date was October 6th, 2019. And these were the Google Analytic results from the first 6 days of October. Pinterest was where I had been spending the least amount of my time, because I was spending more time on, I was actually spending most of my time on Instagram. But you can see here, Instagram doesn't even show up in the top 5. In Pinterest, I had maybe spent a half an hour on in the month before.
Wow, that's really astounding, right? Where we spend our time isn't always where we're getting the results from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't even know. I doubt I was even using Twitter at that time, but it still made the top 5, which astounds me. Oh, I already covered this. So first step that I want you to consider is that you need to get rid of the fluffy text. And let me give you an example, and I'm going to show you. I know I'm speeding through, and I'm not trying to leave this early, but I know that I have more slides here than we have time for today. But when I initially had all my social profiles set up on LinkedIn, especially, I help entrepreneurs develop their self-care systems and support. Now, that is in no way what I do for a living. I work on marketing and business automation for business and life coaches. So when I say that I do self-care systems and support for entrepreneurs, there was no way for people who saw me on any platform to say, oh, that means she does business automation. Wrong. So take a look at how you are presenting yourself. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. I mean, I was looking at a client's profile this morning on Instagram, and it says nothing about what she does. I said, you need to fix this. If somebody can't tell by immediately looking, it's not going to have a great probability of coming up when somebody Googles. For example, for me, if they were looking for an Infusionsoft, I know it's Keep now, but people are still using Infusionsoft. If they're looking for somebody who's experienced in that, it wouldn't have even come up when I had self-care systems and support. This is a screenshot from Pinterest. So you can see I put all the keywords in the big text at the top, but then I give a little bit more of an idea of what I do and who I am personally in the smaller text down here. I don't like putting my cursor into the presentation, but I just want to give you an idea. So get rid of the fluffy text. And then the next step is I want you to start thinking about how you're titling your episodes. This is an example from, this was already 302 episodes into my podcast. I'm 640 in now. But just so you know, I started with a daily show, which was crazy making for me.
Well, so we did too. So we're totally there. So for our clients, the ones that are listening to this, they don't title many of them don't title their own. We title them for them.
Right.
So they're all set for SEO. So they don't have to worry about this. But just a little tip here, and a question, Kim. So we actually, because of search engine purposes, because it doesn't make sense, because the numbers sometimes compete when you get over 300, as you know, starts to compete against the numbers that are displayed on Apple. We put the numbers at the end. So if people want it, the numbers are at the end, not at the beginning. So you can't tell that this is, a positive productivity 302. It would be at the end of anything. So we actually don't waste the space anymore with it. We found it just confused people more. The listeners.
I absolutely love that. I think effective my episode next week, we're going to start changing.
Yeah. So all of you listening out there, you don't have to do that. That's not a Pinterest thing. Like, they don't need you to have a number on here. So,
well, with the Podetize team taking care of you, you're already in good hands. But I want to give you an idea, just because people aren't going to be searching. Like, if people hadn't listened to this episode and they did not know who Rob Dion was, or if they didn't know about Open Sky Fitness, this isn't necessarily what they would have been searching for. in Google. So they wouldn't have necessarily found my episode. They wouldn't have found the pin. They wouldn't have found any information about it. And then I started changing up all the titles. So you can see here the path to a book launch. And is this more along the lines with the exception of the numbers of how you title your episodes?
Yeah, we might do a slightly longer tail title. So it might be the path to a successful book launch.
Love it.
So, so something like that might be, we usually try to use 3 words together because that'll give you more of the long tail keyword. And then we always do have the guest name at the end. And if they need a title, we'll add it to the end too.
I love it. But this gives them the meat because successful book launch, for example, that's what people would be searching for. How do I have a successful book launch? They wouldn't be looking for Angela Ford and her business name if they hadn't listened to the episode.
Right.
But they might be on Pinterest or Google looking for how to have the successful book launch. And this is another example. I needed a third word in this one then too. Successful mastermind.
Yeah.
So, but same idea, keeping it short or making it more keyword specific, because this was not what it had been before. It had been Leslie Samuel, and then the name of his, I think it's chemistryisfun.com, but people wouldn't have known about that. The moment that I started naming appropriately and then started sharing the pod to Pinterest, because I did them very concurrently, my website traffic started going from about 500 visits a month to over 4,000. And as of this point, I still haven't updated anymore in the last few months, but
so this is common. So you can, most of our clients are already experiencing the thousands of keywords, and they usually end up at tens of thousands by the time they're done working through it. So the titling probably has the most to do with that.
I love it. And then also just making sure that the SEO is optimized. And then the way that when you do it right from the start, from your episode, it makes everything that you're doing on Pinterest a lot easier. So thank you for making that part easier for all of your clients.
Yay.
I would love to, well, you've already shared. Could you share a few more? Because I don't want to slow down necessarily for comments right now. Let's leave it open for questions. But what are some of the topics that some of your hosts talk about frequently?
We have a lot of business shows, a lot of shows that are talking about successful business practices, morning routines, productivity tips. So we'll have lots of things like that. So those are all really good things. We have like our professionals, it's a lot of mindset for our doctors and other things. So it's not just health and wellness tips, but it's also mindset things. So those would be really common. My gosh, I mean, it's been so long since I trolled through everybody's episodes because we have so many now. But we have lots of real estates and finance, so they're always talking about investment strategies and different things like that. So as you can see, they're very niche focused.
I absolutely love that. So I'm going to go with the financial here, and let's just say that you are the financial advisor and you want to go after millennials. So same thing as Tracy was just talking about with naming the episode, the 3 words together. In Pinterest, when you are creating your profile, you want to start by creating boards, which if you just consider a folder on your computer where you may be storing similar files, like maybe your client files. Client A goes here, client B goes here, client C goes here. In Pinterest, you're going to be pinning similar content to different boards, which are the folders. So you want to think about what the board titles are, and these are based on the topics that you discuss frequently. So going with somebody, let's just say in financial, if you financial
maybe
investing
financial
investment strategies for millennials.
There you go.
Long tail keyword right there. Investment strategies for baby boomers. You would want to keep those 2 separate because the way that they approach it is going to be different. And let's say we had a dog groomer. Okay. So, if somebody goes into Google and they search for dogs, they're going to get a ton of results. If they say Cocker Spaniels, it's going to narrow it down more. But if you're a groomer for English Cocker Spaniels, bang, make it really specific and make that
How did you know I was looking for that, Kim?
Are you really?
No, yeah, seriously, I know I finally found one, but I did recently look for a groomer for an English Cocker Spaniel because
No way. Like
that's what Lucy is.
we did not rehearse this.
The odds of that, yeah.
I was those were our dogs growing up, and I miss them. I want English Cocker Spaniels again. But I hope you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Like, really make it super specific. I mean, I'm a mom of teenagers, so I could have something very specific for my teenagers. Rainy day ideas for teenagers. I don't know, versus rainy day ideas for preschoolers. There's going to be something
COVID-19
specific.
ideas
No kidding.
for grammar school, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So looking at the types of topics that I discuss on my podcast, it's more than just marketing. And I noticed that there started to be a lot of themes that came up quite often. I mean, my podcast has been around now for 4 years. So I have gone through my own journey of growth, as have my guests. And I started to realize that things like authenticity and boundaries, that started to become a recurring theme for me. And it also seemed to be something that my guests talked about a lot as well. So take the themes that you talk about a lot over and over again and start creating boards for them. I don't want to scare you, Tracy. You've heard this number before. I started very small. Maybe I had 5 boards. I am up to 168 boards now, but I don't want you to think that is something that you need to create overnight. I have 3 pillars in my business: self-care, systems, and support. That's not my headline anymore. But if you could come up with 3 pillars that your whole business revolves around and start with those 3 pillars, that would be great. And then have a board for your podcast. Specifically for your podcast.
I've been doing this a while, and I think I have like 30, 40 boards somewhere in there. So it does happen over time, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Please do not make it feel like this needs to be overnight. Yeah, at all. I would love to know who the introverts are here.
Oh, we have a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, we have a lot. I don't know that they're all on, but we have quite a few.
So they might be watching later.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is the interesting tidbit, though, that, you know, my most engaged board on Pinterest is my introvert board. And considering people think it has, it's clothes, crafts, and recipes, to have my number 1 performing board be I'm an introvert, because I made this for me. It has nothing to do with my business. But when I'm going to events, I wanted, a little bit more for me. How do I feel more comfortable? I don't know that a lot of people would actually know that I'm an introvert when I go out.
That's the case for a lot of introverts, right?
But, what are the best coping mechanisms? If you're at a conference, how do you ground yourself after you get back to your room? Like, I started just gathering all of this, putting it into a board, and so don't feel like all the time needs to stick to just you and your business, because I want you to remember that people connect with people. So I have a fair share mix on my boards, or on my profile, of professional boards, so specifically topics that I discuss in my podcast, along with personal boards. So I have mompreneur attire. I love lazy attire. I want to see how I can be super comfortable but also look good. I have, the craft boards for what to do with the kids on rainy days. But that's interspersed with all the professional boards. And what I found is the more that I keep my personal in it, I'm getting people who follow my whole account because they like the personal stuff, but then they even become more engaged and start resharing when they see me sharing more of the professional stuff. So that's
something that Kim's touching on that maybe some of you are Pinterest users don't know. So you can follow someone's board, but you can also follow someone. And following someone means you're following basically all their boards and all their pins. So you want to encourage them to follow the whole person, follow you.
Yeah, and in most cases, like, I would love to see how this goes for you, Tracy, as your account is ramping up. But most times people follow all my boards. It's very rare that I see people only follow one or two of my boards. Usually, and I have to say that most of the time when I go and follow someone, I don't go and pick through their boards either. I just say follow all boards. What do
Love
you
it.
do?
It depends on the project. So sometimes I don't follow people, but if I'm working on a project that's not necessarily really dear and close to my heart, like, we're designing a new microphone, right? And so I
Yeah.
might follow various things out there that were related to sound equipment, but I would never watch a whole person on that. I would just follow a board. So if it's project related, I follow a board. But if it's in general, like someone who inspires me, I will follow the person.
Love it. Yeah. Second, so the first one was make it easy to find you. The second point is eye appeal is by appeal.
Right.
Depending
And
on,
I want to stop you for one
yeah,
second here just to say this to it. You're noticing something that we do not do anywhere else in our practices on social media, because setting up your page, and that's really what happened, where all your boards are and everything. There's a branding appeal and a sense of synergy around your whole
mm-hmm.
account that works really well here. It is also something that people tend to like on Instagram. But having the same thing, remember we talk about this all the time in our coaching here. We don't allow the same images again and again and again. We don't allow that over branding to happen in the regular episode art and other things, because we want people to make sure that they didn't feel like they've seen it and they've read it. But here you're creating a brand identity for overall. So this violates that rule in a good way. And you're making sure you're setting up great eye appeal and brand, but so that everyone recognizes these as coming from you and your account.
I love that you bring that up, because I was listening to your presentation on that, and you had me thinking about it. But yeah, this is the one place that it's okay to violate it. So depending on where you go, you have 3 to 7 seconds to make that first impression. So I want to make sure that you're using it to your advantage, and that people know that your pins are undeniably you. You can see here. I mean, everything that I do, you can sort of see it behind me too. I do a lot with turquoise. I do a lot with purple. It's a rare day to see me in something other than turquoise or purple. Actually, I have purple on underneath the sweater. I make it really easy in my closet, but I like to keep everything really consistently branded. And this includes my Pinterest and my Instagram. These are some examples of people who had recently followed me. Sorry, I'm going to skip over this one because I didn't realize there was an inappropriate picture. Um, but these people did not take time to brand their boards for them. And these are business accounts. So you can see, looking at like even the men's fashion trends, I wouldn't necessarily know. I see a sweater, sure, great. I wouldn't necessarily know what any of them is
Looks a
about.
little dowdy over there. I don't know. That's
It
very
really does.
fashionable. Yeah.
Agreed. And then this one, even with the manifesting, no, I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential in all of these boards. None of these boards have been branded. But then this was mine, or this is mine, and I'm going to show you a few more examples. You can see right away, it's really clear on what these boards are about. You don't have to go squint your eyes, try to see what the pins are about. You know that I would have to say, though, that this book board cover, I would say books worth reading. Books is a little bit narrow there. Put the whole title of your board into your board cover. This is ClickFunnels. It's pretty obvious what each of these boards are about, but you can see here's the great example of a branded board, social media marketing, versus the young entrepreneur board, which hasn't been branded out there. I wouldn't have any idea, besides that this one says business ideas for teens, that this was a board for young entrepreneurs. So right there is a great comparison of just a little bit of time, especially when you can create these board covers and Instagram, a little time goes a long way on Pinterest.
Yeah, and I want to stop and just mention also psychologically what this does for people is that when I look at when I look at somebody's profile and I see all these boards so well crafted, it says to me they take time and they take their Pinterest seriously, which means it's worth my time to follow them. They're not just, because it is hard to tell sometimes when you go to people's boards, how often are they posting or how often are they pinning, right? So you don't really know how serious they're taking it. But just by having this sort of crafted look, then carefully branded, you understand that there was some seriousness taken here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And that is so important. How much does that impact your buying decisions or your click through?
I would say it impacts it tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all in all, just anything about podcasting, those that take their shows more seriously, that spend the time on their show, that put their blog posts up, that have good episode art, all of those things have a significant difference in the growth of a show. So why wouldn't that translate to exactly what you're doing here when you're promoting your show?
Right. Right.
These are great.
I mean,
fur babies. I totally my most popular board is a pet board, and I didn't have a pet when I made it. I was doing a project for someone.
Oh, that cracks me up.
Yeah,
you're making me. I think I have. Oh, I didn't really talk about this. I said get rid of the fluffy text, but I actually have my animal board is called Furries because I was trying to be cute when I created that one. I need to change that name. See? Don't go cute on. Oh my gosh.
See, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's been groomed. That's why she has a bow on her head.
They can be your cute furries in real life, but think about what people are going to be searching for.
Yeah.
I mean, fur babies, yeah, I think they'll be searching for that more than they'll be searching for furries, but definitely.
Well, to be honest with you, my board is actually all pet products. And my most popular pin of that board is a carrier that goes in the car.
Is that what the board title is, though?
No, the board, I think it says pet products. It may say pet products on it, yeah. But it is that particular pin within it is my runaway best pin, is the pins with all the car carriers, I guess you would call them.
Huh.
Yeah. See, yeah. So people are transacting. They're looking for product. They're looking for ideas for what to buy, not just looking at cute pictures of dogs.
I would love to see what would happen if you broke that down to products for dogs or products for cats. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely.
Split it up by animal.
Yeah. Let's see if we get more traction. I love it.
So then there's the consistency. You already saw the consistency across the board covers. Just getting them created is one thing. And if you're curious, I do show, I have a slide coming up about the sizes for those images. So don't worry about that. I'll tell you exactly what you need to create that. But the consistency, this is something I am honestly still playing with. And this is thanks to Tracy because she got me starting thinking on this. When I started pinning my podcast, I started having every single one look the same except for the text and except for the picture of the guest. But then I heard Tracy and I was like, yeah, they might think that they've already seen this one. They might just keep on going through. And I decided to try to use Headliner, especially when video pins became a thing. And I know that this has great potential to work. And in case any of you go to my podcast board, I wanted to address this because I'm really hoping that they make a few tweaks. The problem, I'm going to go back one slide. When people click on this pin right here, the Suze Edakari, it's going to pull up the pin page and then they can click through to my website, to the show notes. The problem is on the video, every time they click it, it's starting and stopping the audiogram file. It's not taking them through to my show notes page.
So that's a really good. So are you doing full length audiogram or are you just doing a clip audiogram?
I was doing a clip, and this is the only one I've done so far because I really wanted to give them a teaser to take them through to the show notes page to listen to the whole episode. But if it's just going to start and stop it, right here, then that's not really effective for me. I would rather give them a screenshot of the audiogram that takes them through to the full episode show notes page
So the
where they
video pins
listen.
really aren't working as well.
No, but that's not going to work for me, because my whole purpose of doing this is to get people through to my site.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm going to play with that, having the big audiogram looking file that just takes them through. So, and then changing out, not having me. I'm realizing that people they don't need to see me. Like I'm out there being visible, but they don't need to see me in every single one. This is how my blogs used to look. There was consistency across all my different blogs. I had the same formatting on the front and then a different image in the back to reflect what the blog episode was about. And then I changed my blogs to vlogs, and you can see I started putting myself. I'm going to speed over this one. They weren't getting good click-throughs. People didn't want my face really big and staring at them. And when I started varying them up, they started getting better click-through again. So it doesn't need to be the same every single time. I'm going to continue playing with this, though, Tracy. So you may very well be right, because even though it didn't click through to my site, that audiogram file has still had a lot of plays.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
just
I think
want them
maybe
to go
doing
to my
both.
site. Yeah.
Maybe try both and see what happens. Yeah.
Yep. Let the split testing begin. And
Well,
that's
and
how
I
I'm going
would
to be doing it.
definitely try at the end of your end of the video on the audiogram, the ending is your URL. Like and just keep it simple, everyone, because it's a long URL that you would be sending to if you're sending them to the blog or to the video. So you just keep it simple, and you just would put, mine is thebingefactor.com or yours is positiveproductivity.com, whatever that is. Just have that, or the Kim Sutton, right? Isn't that your website?
Yep.
thekimsutton.com, that you just make sure you end on that every single time. Like, make sure that is your last words of your video.
Yeah, absolutely. My only concern, though, with that is that a lot of people are on their mobile devices doing it, and I have really fat fingers. I don't want to be going and typing in something. I would like them to just be able to click on it, which they can do when it's an image. So, but I'm going to be playing with it, and I'll report back how it works out.
Wonderful. Good.
Yeah.
But you can see this is good. Everyone, Kim's, showing you that she's experimented the other ways, and there's a reason why we've set these systems in place where we don't put your picture on everything, where we do this with a lot of text and larger and just reinforcing images in the background, and that we mix them up so that they look different, just like she's doing here, because this works.
Absolutely. It's really fascinating, though, if I can just take a 2-second deviation. Like, while this is working really well on Pinterest, like the text only without my face, using it without my face on YouTube was not working at all. And putting
Different
my face
channels, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's just play on every single one and see what works. So this is probably a great slide for you to take a screenshot of, but if you do use Canva, these are templates that you will find in your Canva account. So the Pinterest graphic is 735 pixels wide and 1102 tall. And then I'm using the Instagram graphic template, so that's 1080 by 1080, and that's for the board cover, so it's a square, and you simply put it into your account as a pin.
And for those of you who use our services and for a lot of these things and everything, our team is always on it. So if Pinterest changes the size, we will know it. We will be on top of it. And we do somewhere have in the help resource section, I don't remember the name of it, but I will try to make a link for it when we post this up, that there is a help resources that is the size guide. And I had them add these Pinterest sizes to it late last year. So
thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
That is one of the most difficult things for me, is just making sure I'm always aware of what the sizes are. So I know I said, and this is going to be the fastest section to leave room for questions here, but I know I said it's not a social media platform, meaning you're not going there to like and comment and all that. But the interaction is still really important, because the more likes you get, the more likes you get. I'm sure you've noticed that when one of your posts gets a few likes, then it seems to avalanche and go forward. However, if you only get one, it seems to be stagnant. So in order to get more interaction on your pins, it's also important to interact with other people's pins. So when you create your boards, they're not just meant for you to create your content, and you want to be pinning the content of other people in there as well. And what happens after they see you pinning their content into your boards is that they're going to start sharing, they could start sharing your content to their boards as well. So it seems to be very reciprocal. I see about 25% of people that I follow me back. So you want to be very interactive. Again, though, remember I said I've spent maybe half an hour in here in the last month. So, and there's a reason why I did that, or why I do that, and I'll share that with you. So you can share pins from your home feed into your boards. You can join group boards and share from your fellow group members onto your boards. And that makes it really easy. You can see here I have business quotes board, great women podcasters. This was actually a client's board, so you can ignore that one. And then I have another board on there. But if I want business quotes, I can simply go into the business quotes board, look for the ones I'm going to or that I want, and then repin to the appropriate boards on my account. And then option 3, which is my favorite, and yes, I am an affiliate, but I just need to share, this is what's made a lot of it possible for me, is that I'm part of Tailwind Tribes. So I have I get a lot of very specific content, and it makes it possible for me to load up my Pinterest
so just
queue.
For those of you who don't know, this is really an important part of doing this, especially when you're new to the system, is starting to understand that this kind of cooperation, this kind of program, this is going to help you grow. Mm-hmm. So it is an important part to add to it. To not do this means a lot more work on your own end.
Absolutely. So in that half an hour to an hour a month that I spend in here, I can queue up maybe 30 days of pins that are going out to my account. And it's going to the tribes and looking at the content that they have and putting it into a queue. And I also use Tailwind. Tailwind is a scheduling tool for Instagram and Pinterest. So I also use it to pre-schedule all my Instagram posts. They do give a couple free weeks. So I don't want to be like, this is not about me pushing Tailwind on you, but I want you to know I don't do it all on my own. And I'm definitely not in there manually every single day making it happen.
And so Kim's got the trial in there. I'm adding it to Facebook right now. And so it's thekimsutton.com/tailwind for those of you who are just listening, want to make sure you got that.
So I want to go over the 3 steps again. Make it easy to find you. So make sure you're using keyword rich pin titles, pin descriptions. I didn't dive, you can see that there was so much content here. Use keyword rich titles, descriptions, and board titles, as well as making sure that your profile is optimized for any keywords and for the value that you deliver to people. And then eye appeal is by appeal. Make sure it's branded out for you. And then engage and interact. Make sure that you're in there pinning the products of other people and interacting with other people's pins. And then they'll be more aware of you, what you're doing, and they'll likely follow you back.
So Kim, I just posted into Facebook my my 30-30-30-10 rule, which is 30% of what you should post is your own stuff. 30% should be other people's stuff. 30% should be general news information, industry information from whatever you think your valued sources are. And then 10% should be that like uniquely you stuff, like your introvert things and, pet products on my side. So whatever that is. So thinking about that rule still applies here.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, I gave up drinking.
Feel free to steal that. I think I probably took it from somebody else too.
My margarita board is absolutely taking off.
I'll have to add to it.
Yeah, please. Yeah. I do have a free gift for you if you want inspiration for your board covers. You can go to thekimsutton.com, and I think I gave this to Marlene already, /productize-lookbook, and you'll see a preview of a variety of different Pinterest board covers. I will tell you that I personally went through over 2,500 Pinterest accounts to look for people who had actually taken the time to brand their profiles. And out of that, I was able to find just over 65.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow. So
yeah,
you've
isn't that
really taken the
crazy?
time to go through it. I love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
This is really great. So the kimsutton.com/podetize dash lookbook. And so I will type it in both into the chat, and I'm doing it right now into Zoom, and then I will make sure we get it if Marlene hasn't already done it onto Facebook as well. This is wonderful, Kim, and I really want you to also talk a little bit, because you are while we wait for some people to start typing in questions, that you are an expert in funnels. And so that's what I want people to realize, that she does this Pinterest, but it is all in the way of making sure that you're generating enough visibility out there so that you have an opportunity to start to qualify people to come into you. So talk about how Pinterest has worked for you, or the social media, the way you're approaching social has helped with funneling.
Thank you so much. So I I showed you the examples of how I use this for my podcast and for my blog. And one of the biggest, trust me, I make so many mistakes. I already told you positive productivity is not about perfection, and I don't want that to dissuade you, but I do everything on my own account and for myself before I even talk to anybody else about it. So when I really started getting going on Pinterest, I wrote a blog article 19 for 2019, and it had thousands of click-throughs from Pinterest in the first couple days. I was shocked, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't gaining any traction from it, like why nothing was going on. And then I looked at the blog article, and I realized I had no call to action in this blog article. In every single podcast in the show notes, and I'd love to hear, what you do for your clients. In every single blog article and every single video, so I go live on Facebook and then I repurpose and it goes onto my site. I have a call to action on every single one of those. So when people are being driven, I either want them to subscribe to the podcast, or I have a relevant freebie that I give out, or there's something else that happens. So never ever forget that. And that's the start of the funnel, because from there we can work them down and they get to know, like, and trust us. And ideally, it does get slimmer on the way down, but at some point, ideally, they will purchase or enlist our services or products. And Pinterest is just it became the second highest driver of traffic to my site behind Google, and it's the number one contributor of leads to my funnels.
So we have a client who, she was actually our very first client, way back when, and Karen Leland does this presentation, and we've invited her. She's going to come on and she's going to do one of our coaching crashers on branding. She's a branding expert, and she talks specifically about how she has a client who, it was like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a cami, like you would put it on, and so it would like give this little beautiful lace underneath your shirts in case your shirt was a little too low cut. Like, it was this simple product, and they had gotten on the Today Show, and they'd had some sales and some all of that, but all of a sudden, about a month later, they're getting these huge spikes of traffic, and they didn't know where it was coming from. And when they eventually traced it back through their website and everything, it was all coming off of a single Pinterest pin that they had nothing to do with. Like, it was just somebody saw this, pinned it, shared it, and the next thing you know, they were starting to get sales from it. And it was a larger driver than being on the Today Show. They sold more product from it. And so, and this was, I don't know, I think when I saw Karen give this presentation, it was almost 5 years ago. And so, if that was the driver back then, it's even more prevalent now, because the action taking is higher now because they didn't have viable pins and other things that they do nowadays.
Absolutely. If you have any doubt about whether or not Pinterest can work for you and your business, I want to challenge you today to pull up Pinterest and search like you would search in Google for your top key phrase. And the only thing I have to say about that is make sure you're not in the user tab. I'm just looking to see what it actually says, but you want to search pins. And I guarantee you will find other people who are already pinning on what your topic is. And that should be enough proof that you have opportunity there.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Yeah, when we talk about this all the time, when you guys are developing your shows, if you're in the development of a show, that we want you to go out there and search in the major search engines.
Mm-hmm.
Add Pinterest to that list of things. Don't just search Amazon and iTunes and Google. Go ahead and add Pinterest to it, because it's such a large search engine and it's so visual. So that's also really important. It's easy to filter through quickly. So I actually don't use Google Images as my first place. I use Pinterest as my first place for looking for when I'm looking at imagery-based ideas. Now, of course, I have to find royalty free and I have to find other things later. So I have a whole different method for that. But when I'm just thinking about, like, sometimes I can't, when I'm developing a blog or I'm writing an article, what does that imagery say to me? Like, is this, if I put manifesting wealth, like, what comes to mind for most people might be, a pile of money. But if I went on Pinterest and started searching for that, I'm always surprised at the ideas. They're very different. And they sometimes are much better. And so actually that particular one I've done before, it was a pile of gold dust that did the best.
Mm.
I wouldn't have thought of it if I hadn't checked Pinterest. If I had just
Right.
Googled it, done Google Images, it would have been piles of money.
I love it.
Yeah.
When I was looking for inspiration for speaker sheets for me and clients, I went to Pinterest.
Yep.
Speaker one sheets, and then also business card ideas.
Yep, absolutely. Cover art ideas. That's probably my most popular pins are from my cover art ideas. Yeah. So, well, wonderful. Well, Kim, I'm not seeing a lot of questions here. Now, that doesn't mean that people won't reach out. So, Kim, if you haven't been added to the Facebook group, you will be, Kim. You need to be added to the Brandcasters Facebook group, because that's what we're doing with all our coaching crushers, so that you're able to ask questions, so that they can ask questions within the post. They can ask you questions directly. They can reach out to you through there. So for those of you who didn't join us live and you're watching this on the replay, it's not too late to ask a question. Make sure you tag Kim when you ask it, so that she knows you're directing that question at her.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I can't wait to answer questions, and I want to see screenshots, please, before you start this.
We will do that. So Kim, we will promise to do that as we're moving forward. As I'm going to take a before and after of my profile, we'll do a before and after of our boards. So yeah, we'll absolutely make sure that we're doing that.
There was somebody who was down in Orlando with us, a week and a half ago, and I want to give you an idea, if I can.
Yeah.
Really fast. She just started since then, and she already has, I went to the wrong place. It tried to show me something. She has been at it for a week, and her impressions are already up 554%.
Wow. That's great.
Her audience is already up 619%, and her engagements is up 946.
So I'm just briefly showing the camera this. You guys can see that. Yeah, so when you go to, if you're on your mobile phone or on the desktop, if you go to your profile, if you have had one for a while, and you click on overview, your analytics will show at the top. If you don't have that, you may have to just quickly register your account as a business. You have, or verify your account, and then you'll be able to access that. The information's still there, even if you register after the fact. Like, it's not like all of a sudden it starts at 0. But I mean, I have 34,000 visitors this week alone, and I haven't pinned anything in a month at least. So, people are still going through and looking at things.
Yeah, and it's absolutely evergreen. Because somebody will see it today, they'll pin it to their board, and then somebody will see that and they'll pin it to their board. And what's that called? Like spider webbing?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Kim. And you guys see why I brought Kim on. I knew her brilliance, her ideas here. This is out of the box thinking, but it's not, because it's tapping into something that is so prevalent in the way that many, many, many people search. So you guys tap into this, check this out. We're always looking for new ways. This is a great way for you to try it, especially in your niche. I know Tony Frischknecht, I can see him on as one of the attendees in Zoom, and he says thank you to Kim. But Tony has a whole area that is in, the new green economy, right? His podcast is called Plant Problems. And I cannot think of a better place where there's lots of new products going on and lots of new thoughts and ideas that your show could do really well here. The demographic of those who are looking at CBD products and hemp products, and of course, cannabis-based products, all of that is happening, and a lot of that is circulating in Pinterest. If you check it out, you will see it's very big. It's big with an older generation as well as the younger generation. So you see a generational span there. So that's a really great one. And I see some other people on who are out there. Mindset, Paul Hoyt, I can see you that you're on. Mindset is out there. Mindset ideas, the quotes, those things do really well on Pinterest. So don't forget about sharing those. The wonderful ego bait quotes that we do here could do brilliant on Pinterest as well. Make sure that you do that. And if your guest has an account, tag them. And if they don't, just, make sure you're tagging them out so people know how to find them. So thank you, Kim, so much. Appreciate it. So glad you're a part of our general group here, and I look forward to seeing how you change things over time, and keep us posted on what's new.
I sure will. Thank you so much.
Everyone, you can reach out to Kim. I'll make sure you have all the contact information in the Facebook video as it generates. You'll make sure we have all the contact. We've already put those links in there for you. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. Keep your business moving, though. This is a great time. Keep podcasting. Okay, take care, everyone.